Well, hello, and today's project we're going to sort the brakes out on the 1042. The gearbox was full of milky oil because the rubber on the gear lever had perished, so we've replaced that. Put a new gear knob on while we're at it. We've got the brakes off. They're held on with 6 stubborn bolts, 7/16 UNF thread. The brakes were seized on this side. It was just driving round on one wheel, so we've took the cover off, took the plates out, took the actuator out and got the casing off, and we're going to give it a sandblast to clean it out. And while we're at it, we're going to replace the seals. That's the back side. And that's the inside. Cleaner cleaning, that's what they say.
Eh?
Cleaner cleaning.
Well, the thing is, take pictures, you can see it's all been done. Yeah.
There we go, that's a finished article. They've cleaned up quite nice. We've just give them a quick coat of Gliptol on the areas that aren't in contact with anything. Quite surprised how nice the old discs have cleaned up. There's still plenty of life left in them. There's the casing all cheered up a bit. I've left the original paint here because we're not ready for painting it yet, so that can get done. At least all this will be sorted on the inside. There's the Clarker Works. You won't believe that's a wildcat. It's a big baby. Here's the actuators, they've cleaned up okay. I'll just give them a quick... It's quite damp, the weather today, so it was a bit of a rush job, so I'll just give them a quick fizz with a rattle can just to get a bit of protection on them, stop them from flash rusting. Bit of overspray there, but that'll soon rub off when they get put into use. All these little jobs are slowly getting done, and then come better weather, everything will start going back together a bit quicker. That's the Gliptol what we use. Use it sparingly, it's quite expensive, but it's good stuff. Anyway, we'll let this dry. You can see it's still a bit wet there. We'll let this dry overnight and give them another coat tomorrow. And then we can put the seals in and start building it back up. To give you some idea, this is like the before shots, how rusty they were, so the disc would never slide on that. Anyway, we'll get stuck in. Here I'm just chasing out the threads. It's a 7/16 UNF tap and I'm using the battery ratchet just to drive the tap. It just makes it a bit easier rather than trying to do it by hand with the tap wrench. The bull pinion's in the way, so it just makes life a little easier when you've got power tools. And I learnt this trick off a well-known Caterpillar restorer over in America, watching their channel. We learn from each other, as they say. Here I'm just giving it a quick flush out with some penetrating oil. It's silicone based, so it does add, like, you know, a bit of lasting slickness to the job. Just flushing the bearing out there in case anything landed in there. Can't hurt any, it's all good stuff. Okay, so after a bit of struggling in this tight space, it's looking a bit healthier in there, all cleaned out, the splines are nice and clean. Coated Gliptrol to stop it rusting. You can see where a previous owner has been beating on the pedals, probably trying to get them to free off, hoping it'll free the brakes off. Anyway, the only way to do it is do it proper. There's a new boot, new gear lever, so we know where we're going. We're slowly getting there. There's quite a few more little jobs. I'm looking forward to steam cleaning it, get all this brush paint off it. See, that's the original colour underneath there. Hopefully we'll be able to save most of that. So we're slowly improving it bit by bit. There's not actually that much room, look. But we've managed to do it. Okay, it's a little time later. We've got the actuator back in. And a new rubber boot. Quite difficult to make this out. They're the old linings after a sandblast and a quick clean. Splines are all nice and clean. Just trying to get it on left-handed. Okay. Ready for the lay down. The brakes have never been that good on this since they were new. It's going dark, it's a bit awkward to film on a phone. There's still life left in them, so we may as well finish them off. Right, we've got the rubbers in. Okay, so we've just had a bit of a delivery here. We've got the Speedy sleeve and some of our favourite flavour Loctite 510. We've got the Speedy sleeve for the Nuffield P.T.O shaft that's quite badly corroded. It'd be a waste of time putting a seal back on it just as it is, it'd just chew it straight up. So if anyone doesn't know what a speedy sleeve is, it's a thin shim that you gently knock it onto a shaft, so it gives you a new running surface. If anyone wants to do this, the one for a Nuffield P.T.O shaft is 99175. I think it's one box suits all. Yes, you can have like a big one, little one. This is a little installation cup, which is no use to us because it's got to go over the P.T.O splines. And this is the actual speedy sleeve. It's like ultra thin, so you can still use the same seal. And there's a perforated line there. Once you fit it, you get some pliers and you break it off along that line there. And this is your new surface for your seal to run on. It's just a quick, well, it's an easy fix to a damaged or corroded shaft. Anyway, this is the bit that makes your eyes water. SKF CR 99175 hardened stainless steel speedy sleeve, fits shafts 1.747 to 1.753, so it's basically for 1.75 inch shaft, which is what our P.T.O measures at. £45.65 each. Thank God we only need one. Loctite 510 medium strength, flange sealant, goes off in the absence of air, never fails, better than a gasket. Almost as much, £45.14, and it's not a big tube either. You know, a tube of toothpaste bigger. Ooh. Anyway, with the dreaded tax, 20% goes to HMRC. £18.16, £108.95, just to do a bit of a job. It really makes you think twice about how far to go with these old vintage tractors. It's just a hobby, but the price of stuff since COVID is just astronomical. Anyway, we've got it, we're on with it, we're going to have to grin and bear it. Back to the tractor. Okay, this is why we need the speedy sleeve. You can see the pit in there. We're going to clean this up with the grinder, with the wire brush, and then we'll fit the speedy sleeve, so we've got a fresh face for the seals to do the thing on. There's just no chance of them ever sealing. That's the after effects of a quick go with the wire wheel on the grinder. Just to clean it up, put a bit of Loctite 510 on there, and then we'll slide the speedy sleeve on. Clean the splines up while we're at it. It doesn't seem to have had a lot of wear. When we drained the gearbox, there was quite a lot of water in the gear oil, so perhaps this is what's caused the corrosion in the pit in here. Anyway, we'll see how we get on. Now we've got our shaft cleaned up, we've got the Loctite 510, and we've got the speedy sleeve. It comes with this little installation tool to tap it on the end of a shaft, but for what we're doing, this isn't going to work, because obviously we need to go down here and that ain't going to work. So we need to find a bit of tube to tap it on with, and then we also, before we get carried away, we need to do some measuring and make sure this, because this collar breaks off on the perforated line, we need to make sure this bit lands where the seals need to be. So a bit of measuring next on the cards. Well, I've done some measuring, to work out where this needs to land and just checking from the depth of where the bearing bottoms out to where the actual lip of the seal is, just to confirm that that's it there, and you can see the shiny bit to where the seals have been wearing into the shaft. That's the door, if you can hear anything. It's a proper windy day on Easter Sunday. Anyway, the bearing's held on with a circlip at the back. I'm going to knock the bearing back a bit because we have to knock this on and then break it off along this perforation, because that rolled edge is your installation piece. So I've confirmed, I've measured its double seals and then a felt, and this will more than plenty catch both seals. So I'm going to go and get the circlip off, knock the bearing down a bit, install the sleeve with some of our favourite Loctite 510. Flange sealant goes off in the absence of air, and then we can throw the P.T.O shaft back in it and hopefully it won't leak. There we have it, speedy sleeve installed up to where that shiny shoulder was, just before where the seals were rubbing. That's plenty wide enough to catch both seals. Just a wiper felt goes here, so you know, if it's getting past the seals, a wiper felt's not going to stop it, so that'll pass as that, just to mainly keep dust and dirt out. Yeah, we can push the bearing back on, put the circlip back on. That circlip was quite a challenge, it's a strong little so and so that, but anyway, we've got it done. Got a nice new surface for the seals to run on. That's the installation bit. You just break it with pliers and then carefully peel it off around that perforated line. Put plenty of Loctite on it so that can be stop any oil seeping under it through the pitting and oozing out the other side. So hopefully that should be the P.T.O sorted when we get the seals replaced in the housing. I've just knocked the old seals out, and as can be seen here, they're really hard and broken up, and they're quite crunchy and crispy. They're completely knackered for want of a word. Anyway, it's no wonder they were leaking, the state of the condition of them. Anyway, we've got new ones in a kit from Charnley's. You can buy them as a kit with the wiper, the O-ring and the double seals, and we'll get them fitted and get these ones chucked away. And here's a quick look inside for anyone who's never seen. That cog there, this is the back of the Doughty hydraulic pump. That is the pump that's the cog that drives the pump. The constant mesh, these, because wherever you slide the P.T.O, when you move the handle, whenever you pull the P.T.O out, I forgot to mention this, if you're going to pull the P.T.O out of a Nuffield, always pull the lever right back so it keeps everything engaged at the other end. If you do it when it's forward, things can drop out of alignment. You still see a bit of that milky gloop. Anyway, it looks nice and clean in there, other than a bit of milky gloop. It'll probably take a couple of oil changes to get rid of all that, but other than that, you can see it's still red, painted red inside internally. It's not too bad at all. That's the selector for the P.T.O, and the pump goes through here, comes up the back here. Anyway, so we've got to get the filter out. We need to find the right socket. You must use a 6-sided socket, otherwise you risk chewing that up and then you'll never get it out. This is a magnetic filter, needs undoing and cleaning, and then we can put the new oil in. Okay, we've got the rag in. Just before we install it, we'll just give these threads a quick clean up. Okay, we've got everything washed off, the threads are all nice and clean. I've just been and wire brushed the hardware up on the bench grinder with the wire wheel, so as everything goes on nice. Just to stop, I've washed it off with a bit of brake cleaner just to stop everything flash rust. I'm just going to give it a quick go over. We've got GT85, and then we're ready to reinstall the P.T.O. Just give that a little squirt of WD-40 just to lubricate the O-ring going in. Line up the shim pack. We've now got the P.T.O back in. I've made a new pivot pin here. That was earlier in the video. You'll have seen me heating it up just to remove it. They're commonly known for getting seized in, so I managed to get it out with a load of heat, and then I've just spun up a new pin. Put plenty of oil and grease on it. Just rest these in until we're certain of the final position. I've got new pins for in here, but we need oil seals for this. The depth sensing valve. So I need to find out what oil seals are required for that. Hello again, it's been a little while later. I've managed to get the P.T.O bolted back in. There's no gasket because it has a shim pack behind there, so be careful to keep all your shims and keep them clean. The P.T.O is installed, it turns, engage it, it's between the teeth, there we go, it's engaging. There's a little bit of oil here, that's just because I oiled that felt. So just so as it's not running dry on the seals when we first fire it up. In a previous video you'll have seen me struggling to get this pin out, the pivot pin for the top link anchor, which is down here. We ended up having to warm it up considerably and get rough with it to knock it out. Anyway, I made a new pin, cleaned all the holes out, and you get rust on these faces and it makes it swell and stick in the jaws there. So I clean them up with a file, get them nice and flat, give them a bit of clearance. And while I was here, it had a bit of a leak off the draft sensor there, which someone's had a bit of a go at. You can see it's a bit chewed up, but it's going to have to do because we haven't got another one. So while I was in there, I took the circlip out, pulled it out and replaced the O-ring in there. So yeah, we should be pretty leak free. I've got a new O-ring from the P.T.O lever. That's just a case of take the nut off, slide that out, fish it out, shove it on. That should be done. Then we should be pretty oil tight. The half shafts aren't leaking either side, so that's a good thing, because I don't really fancy doing that job. But no, it's getting there. Be a nice little mowing tractor this, because it's not too big. Could even use it in the garden over here. Anyway, I'll be back when we've made a bit more progress. Okay, just been in the parts department. This is what years of trolling through eBay, looking for new old stock parts. British Leyland, who bought out Nuffield in later years. That didn't go well, did it? Okay. Right, now then, the two special bolts that fit in here. The one for this side is a blank, brand new old stock, and the part number for that is ATJ 6104. The bolts that were in there, someone had tack welded them in because they'd just worn that much. They tack welded them in, so I had to get a grinder and carefully cut them out. Now the bolt that goes in the other side is a bit special because it has like a peg on it for the draft sensing control. And the part number for that is ATJ 6103. It's almost a shame to break them out of the packet. Bring you over here. Oh man, the magnet's strong on that stand. And then zoom back a bit, then we can get it. I've took all this out, put new O-rings in it, replaced the boot. Someone's been giving it some hammer there, but it's going to have to do. Hopefully you'll be able to see that and the sun's not blowing you out. Let's go forwards and we'll squeeze that in. Lube. just looking at this, it's like bottoming out. There should be a washer here, and just to confirm it, that's a 1042. We're just going to fly over it. It's handy having the 1060 here, just to confirm. Yeah, there should be some washers there. Looks like I'll have to do the oil seal in that one as well. Anyway, off to the lathe we go to make some washers. Well, I thought I'd press record, but obviously I hadn't. Anyway, we've just parted these off. They're still a bit warm. Off a bit of steel stock. We had to send the little boring bar up to open it up to the size required. And anyway, we've made our own little thick washers. Back to the tractor. Okay, after a bit of a struggle, we've got the bolts back in again with the washers that I've just made on the lathe. Just parted them off out of a bit of round stock that already had a hole in. Just had to enlarge the hole a bit with the boring bar. Anyway, it's starting to look a bit more professional round here now rather than a bodge up. The rubber boots back on, the draft sensing pin. This was just one of these was in this side, so that was doing nothing. Anyway, it's back to spec. We put a new Doughty tipper connector on because that was leaking. Job's a good one. Well, the video's got to about 40 minutes long, and I'll call it here. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next update on the Nuffield when we get a chance to work on it. Thanks for now.